Thank you, Archie. As usual, job well done. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The skies haven't cleared, but the rain has stopped, and we're blessed truly. I'm Jim Haar, and I'm chair of the university's Board of Trustees. Before we begin today's program, I want to extend a special welcome to the members of the family of the late Dr. Harold Walter Siebens, who are with us today. Thank you so very much for taking the time and making the effort to be here. We are here to celebrate the new Estelle Siebens Science Center and what it will do for science education and the students who study here today and for many years to come. Regrettably, Mrs. Estelle Siebens was unable to join us for today's festivities, but I know that members of the Siebens family will convey to her that she can be extremely proud of this magnificent building that bears her name. This is a historic day for all of us on this campus. Students, faculty, staff, and members of the Board of Trustees who were intimately involved in the Capital Challenge campaign for this amazing new facility. As an alumnus of Buena Vista University and a resident of Storm Lake, to me, this is even more special. When I graduated here in 1962, Buena Vista was far different from what it is today. During my lifetime in Storm Lake, I have been witness to a campus that has progressively evolved into a center for learning with the highest standards of excellence. Buena Vista is clearly unique among small private colleges in this region in its commitment to student-centered learning. This outstanding new facility, this campus, and the talented students and faculty who honor the great academic heritage of Buena Vista make me so very proud to be an alumnus and a member of the Board of Trustees. So on behalf of the board, I want to again thank Dr. Siebens Foundations and all of the alumni and friends of Buena Vista who made this day possible. Following the invocation by the University Chaplain Ken Meisner, President Fred Moore will commence our dedication program. Again, welcome to this beautiful event, and thanks for being here.
Again, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here, and a little bit of rain, but I guess beavers need a little water in order to survive. So may I invite you to a short time of reflection and prayer. God of all creation and author of our life, as we join together to celebrate this day with awe and wonder, we give you thanks for the resources of your earth and for the foundation you have provided to construct the Estelle Siebens Science Center. As the doors and hallways, labs, and classrooms open, may they always symbolize an arm of hospitality, as well as an extension of generosity to generation after generation of student. May the brilliant light you provide through the panes of glass and through each gifted instructor's life inspire budding scholars to tackle ethical and controversial issues with compassion, moral intellect, and confidence of faith. May we never forget the purpose and intention you have embedded into each brick, each pane of glass, each pillar of cement, each hallway or stairway. As the pillars rise to provide strength and support, may each of us be reminded of those who have provided assistance in making a dream come true for such a time as this. We ask you to shine an attitude of grace and thanksgiving upon this gathering as we honor the legacy of the late Dr. Harold Walter Siebens and the foundations he has established. For those who have gone before us, for those benefactors who came to the support of this university when it seemed the world was falling apart after September 11th, we offer our appreciation. For those who will be caretakers of this breathtaking gift, we offer our individual and collective support through heartfelt prayers and appreciation. For simple resources transformed and sculpted into such a beautiful work of architecture, we are in awe of your handiwork and how you work through your people. Lord God, we continue to tug on your ear and continue to ask that you place your blessed hands upon this university community and all its friends as we dedicate this building to serve you and your creation. Continue to use your Holy Spirit to inspire us with vision, to celebrate talent and creativity and the gift of perseverance in all our journeys. Invite us to take risks, to be committed to you in all our days. We thank you for the safety of all the workers, the contractors, all the people behind the scenes who meant so much in the completion of this beautiful project. We offer a note of humbleness for the ways in which this university has been blessed by your abundance and your mysterious grace, as well as through the multitude of generous hearts and prayerful souls that were nudged by your love. May we in turn share this gift with the world and celebrate it through our simple gratitude, our acts of service, and our continual faithfulness to you in all our days, we pray. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Meisner. Welcome. What a momentous day for Buena Vista University and our students. And isn't this a breathtaking venue for learning? Let me begin my remarks with a quote from Isaac Asimov, the Russian-born American author and biochemist, which brings a global perspective to this special day. There is a single light of science, Asimov said, and to brighten it anywhere is to brighten it everywhere. While this indeed is a festive occasion for us all, the realization of this dream was predicated by a lot of hard work. The history behind the new Estelle Siebens Science Center goes back several years to when we first identified the need for a new facility as a priority in the university's strategic plan. Then in early 2000, we received a $1 million planning grant from the foundations established by the late Dr. Harold Walter Siebens to proceed with detailed planning and design work. Through the extensive process engaged in by our faculty and architects, we determined that a new science facility that would meet our academic needs for the next 30 years would cost $18 million. Additionally, another $8 million would be necessary for endowment to fund the building's operation and maintenance expenses. And by endowing those expenses, we would ensure that we would continue to provide affordable access to the transforming power of a Buena Vista education. By mid-2001, we began discussions with potential leadership donors about the need for a new science center. Despite the enormity of this $26 million undertaking and the fact that it came on the heels of a capital campaign for the Lamberti Recreation Center over here, we received positive responses from virtually everyone with whom we spoke. In August of 2001, the foundations established by Dr. Harold Walter Siebens presented us with an astounding $13 million challenge as the catalyst to raise the funds for this new facility. It was an all or nothing challenge with very specific deadlines. requiring us to raise all of the matching funds within a 13-month period. The board accepted that challenge in early September of 2001. A few days later, on September 11th, terrorists attacked our nation. This was an extraordinarily difficult time for the nation, but Buena Vista University was presented with an opportunity that we simply could not pass up. We moved wholeheartedly forward to meet the Siebens challenge. This capital campaign was one of the most aggressive in the university's history, more than doubling our normal annual fundraising goals. And as we all know, thanks to the generosity of hundreds of alumni and friends of this institution, it was highly successful. This afternoon, we express our profound gratitude to Dr. Harold Walter Siebens and the foundations he established to assure that his philanthropy would continue in perpetuity for the betterment of society. We are fortunate to have so many members of Dr. Siebens' family with us today, and I thank all of you for making this such a special occasion for those of us who are fortunate enough to serve this special institution of higher learning. And now I'll ask the members of the Siebens family to please stand so that we might show our appreciation. As Chairman Haar noted earlier, Mrs. Estelle Siebens, Dr. Siebens' partner in life and his most trusted advisor, was unable to attend today's event. This building is named in her honor in recognition of her lifelong interest in education, science, and the healing arts. We were privileged to have Mrs. Siebens join us 2 years ago for the groundbreaking ceremonies, and we hope that she will have an opportunity to see the completed building. I know that she will be proud of this magnificent facility we are dedicating today. There are a great many people who helped us to meet this challenge through gifts of time and money. Our limited time does not permit me to properly thank each of them individually this afternoon, but I do want to make some general acknowledgments. First, to all of the trustees, alumni, and friends of Buena Vista University whose many gifts, large and small, were vital to making this day a reality. Through their benevolence, they recognized the need for this facility and reached deep into their financial resources to make it happen. I would encourage you to take a few moments to review the names of all of these benefactors on the major donor board and the honor scroll, which are on permanent display in the rotunda of the new Estelle Siebens Science Center. Second, to the work of the science faculty and students who helped to make science come alive in our presentations to major donors. And last, to the university's on-task project team working closely with the Board of Trustees, Building and Grounds Committee, and the contractors to complete this project on time and under budget. We are pleased to have several members of the contractors and subcontractors with us today, including the design firm of BWBR Architects of St. Paul, Minnesota, and the general contractor, the Whites Company of Des Moines, Iowa. Their unbending adherence to the highest quality workmanship will be evident as you tour the building. Indeed, what you see symbolized in this exceptional facility is the future of science education at Buena Vista University. It is a facility that creates a fluid environment where science education can flourish, where students can absorb classroom theory and apply that knowledge by actually doing science in real-world situations. It will be a showcase of science education in our region. This afternoon, we will hear the message of the great promise the Estelle Siebens Science Center holds for the education of all of our students from the perspectives of the faculty, the administration, and the student body. To start us off, I invite Dr. Ken Schweller, Dean of the School of Science, who through his descriptive imagery will take us on a virtual tour of this facility and comment on the impact it will have on the teaching and learning of science. Dr. Schweller.
Thank you, President Moore. This is a day that I and my science colleagues have long awaited. Even though we have been teaching in the new Estelle Siebens Science Center for 3 weeks now, we all continue to marvel at what an amazing facility this really is. It's a building that truly enables us to expand our horizons and bring out the best in the teaching of science. I invite you to join with me in a virtual tour of the new Estelle Siebens Science Building so that I can share with you some of the many awesome features of this building and the opportunities that it makes possible. As we stand outside the building, looking to the west, we see the Prairie Showcase, which incorporates plants that were common in northwest Iowa long before agriculture transformed our landscape. Next, we enter the Rotunda itself, a marvelous two-story glass structure affectionately called the Beaker by the faculty and the students. On the terrazzo floor, we find an inlaid spiral design illustrating the ancient mathematical ideal of the golden proportion. Above our heads, hanging from the pillars that support the roof, we see 5 multicolored banners representing each of the science disciplines at Buena Vista: biology, chemistry, computer science, mathematics, and physics. These banners bear a graphic design and a key word that is symbolic of that discipline, and a quotation by a well-known scientist, each selected by the faculty as representative of the essence of that discipline. For example, the banner for mathematics contains the key word reason. And the following quotation from Henry David Thoreau: "The most distinct and beautiful statement of any truth must take at last the mathematical form." I encourage you to examine these banners in detail as you tour the building this afternoon. Turning to the southwest wall of the rotunda, we see the information kiosk. This is an interactive plasma touchscreen which provides a high-tech directory that was created with the help of our computer science students. Next, we proceed westerly down Science Avenue, a long, dramatic hallway that leads us to faculty offices and is open to the second floor and the skylights above. Here and throughout the building, you will see several gathering areas where students and faculty can relax and meet informally for casual conversation and to continue discussions outside the classroom. To our right, as we take our virtual tour, we see the Electronics and Robotics Lab, where students are building small robots for learning electronics and artificial intelligence programming. And at the end of Science Avenue, we enter the greenhouse, which features 3 separate environmentally controlled rooms. Here we can have a desert right next to a rainforest. This is a cactus. As we continue down the hallways, forming an outer loop of the classrooms and labs, we pass by the Student Faculty Physics Research Lab, the Optics Lab, and the Math Lab. Wait a second. What's this? Math students are writing on the walls of the new building. But don't be alarmed. A special writable wallpaper has been installed on every available wall surface so students can cover the room with their mathematical proofs and exercises. All classrooms are also equipped with state-of-the-art digital presentation capabilities. And now we find ourselves back in the Rotunda, and we take the spiral staircase up to the second floor balcony. What immediately catches our attention is the large fossil wall, which offers visitors an opportunity to experience a walk back through geologic time. As we start our stroll down the upper hall of Science Avenue, we see the mammal exhibits mounted high on the wall. And at the end of the hallway, we discover the reading room, housing saltwater and freshwater aquaria. Nearby, we see the Ecology and Student Projects Lab. This area displays part of the university's extensive collections of vertebrates and invertebrates, all used in teaching various classes. As we continue on the hallway outer loop, we pass by the chemistry labs, and looking through the safety glass windows, we see dozens of fume hoods, one for every 2 students, and lab benches that provide gas, hot water, and deionized water, all at the turn of a faucet. There's a lot of new equipment up here in the biology and chemistry quadrants. For example, we have a gradient thermal cycler, which provides us with the most versatile and powerful polymerized chain reaction technology available, enabling our students to generate huge amounts of DNA from minuscule samples. Well, that concludes our virtual tour. There's much more I could have shown you, I could have told you about, but I encourage you to explore the building yourself and discover its many truly outstanding features. The Estelle Siebens Science Center is truly a wonderful facility, and it will energize our teaching and research endeavors for decades to come. On behalf of the science faculty and our students, I want to express our deep gratitude to Dr. Siebens Foundations and to the hundreds of benefactors, large and small, who made this day possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Schweller. Buena Vista University's partnership with Dr. Harold Walter Siebens and his foundation stretches back nearly 3 decades. It was in 1980 that Dr. Siebens recognized the great potential of this institution with an $18 million challenge gift, which was matched by $9 million from many generous donors. This challenge gift culminated in the Harold Walter Siebens School of Business, a school dedicated to teaching the principles of the free enterprise system and established endowments in the names of his wife and his children. Since then, the Harold Walter Siebens School of Business has produced generations of graduates schooled in entrepreneurship who have gone on to success and service in a variety of professions, from business to law to education. In October 1985, at the dedication of the Harold Walter Siebens School of Business, Dr. Siebens said, perhaps somewhat prophetically, and I quote, "Philanthropic giving has made possible this center of free enterprise. And it happened at a small college. And why not? Great ideas, great men and women, great human achievement can come from small colleges. The potential for increased entrepreneurial achievement is here. My wish for Buena Vista is for all students to have freedom of choice, to teach all students how to become entrepreneurs. Today, this new Estelle Siebens Science Center is a natural complement to the Harold Walter Siebens School of Business in furthering the spirit of entrepreneurship on this campus. Just as that innovative facility was a new beginning for Buena Vista 20 years ago, so this state-of-the-art building will usher in a new era of science education on our campus. This building provides a necessary component for Buena Vista University to fulfill its commitment to Dr. Siebens' vision for BVU of being an institution dedicated to educating the entrepreneurs of the generations to come. For science and technology are powerful forces that drive the free enterprise system. The growth of the American and indeed the world's economies are dependent on discovery and invention. Without scientific progress, there can be no life-saving drugs, no computer chips, or thousands of other technological advances we take for granted today. Nor would we have an understanding of our planet, our solar system, or how natural and human-made phenomena are having an impact on our environment. As Dr. Carl Sagan, the noted astronomer and exobiologist and a William W. Siebens American Heritage Lecture laureate, so aptly observed about the relationship between science and society, we have arranged a civilization in which most crucial elements profoundly depend on science and technology. Indeed, in light of this interdependence of science, technology, and the American economy, what is disturbing today is the growing loss of America's dominance in science. In a recent article in the New York Times, a senior analyst at the National Science Foundation was quoted as saying that the rest of the world is catching up. Science excellence is no longer the domain of just the United States. The article also pointed out that while the expansion of the world's brain trust could actually invigorate advances in science, profits from such breakthroughs are likely to stay overseas. What implications does this trend have for our nation? Listen to the words of 19th century French microbiologist Louis Pasteur. Science knows no country because knowledge belongs to humanity and is the torch which illuminates the world. Science is the highest personification of the nation because that nation will remain the first which carries the furthest the works of thought and intelligence. With this new facility, I can assure you that Buena Vista University is well positioned to do its part to help maintain America's leadership in science and technology. This center will enable an outstanding faculty and talented students to attain new levels of scientific collaboration, exploration, and discovery. Our highly respected science faculty is dedicated to teaching. They honor the legacy of memorable faculty such as Dr. F.F. Bugs Smith, who taught at Buena Vista from 1919 to 1952, and the many others since who have made significant contributions to the study of science on our campus. These were and are all consummate educators, honing the power of inquiry and reason in their students, not merely the rote conveyance of facts, and inspiring a passion for lifelong learning. As noted anthropologist Margaret Mead so fittingly observed about both the challenges and opportunities facing education, we are now at a point where we must educate our children in what no one knew yesterday and prepare our schools for what no one knows yet. Indeed, this is a facility that will benefit not only our science majors, but all students who study on this campus, so that they have a deeper understanding of science and the impact it has had and will have on everything they do. I now invite Dr. Jackie Johnson, Vice President for Academic Affairs and Dean of Faculty, to address how this facility will enrich the academic experience at Buena Vista University. Dr. Johnson.
Those rumblings are going to go on, but it's going to hold off, I promise. Thank you, President Moore. Buena Vista University owes a profound gratitude to the many benefactors who made this new facility possible, and to our science faculty, who are all seated, by the way, over here, who were intensely immersed in the planning and design process to ensure that this building would provide the best possible teaching and learning environment. But this building is much more than bricks and mortar and steel and glass and copper. It is home to a new generation of students who follow in the footsteps and who will live and work among the voices of those great thinkers upon whose legacy this building is constructed. I draw on those voices and that legacy in framing my hopes for this building and what transpires within. The legacy of the scientists whose voices echo in these halls teaches us that science is as much about creativity and imagination as it is about facts and knowledge. The words of George Washington Carver, an American botanist who was born into slavery in the early 1860s and who introduced crop rotation into U.S. agriculture. Carver says, "Since new developments are the products of a creative mind, we must therefore stimulate and encourage that type of mind in every way possible." And the words of Albert Einstein, physicist and mathematician, perhaps best known for his theory of relativity and who was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics in 1921, who says, "I am enough of an artist to freely draw upon my imagination. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world." My hope for the students who walk and learn in these halls is that they will indeed be exposed both to facts and to ways of thinking about them, that we will foster the stimulation of creative minds, and that imagination will indeed encircle the world. The legacy of great thinkers in science teaches us that While science provides a foundation for wisdom, it in no way guarantees it. Again, the words of Isaac Asimov, who tells us this: the saddest aspect of life right now is that science gathers knowledge faster than society gathers wisdom. To allow for wisdom's beginnings, to promote wisdom in young people, we must first teach them to question, to challenge. The words of Claude Lévi-Strauss, 20th century French structural anthropologist, who reminds us that the scientist is not a person who gives the right answers. He or she is one who asks the right questions. And the words of Jacob Bronowski, Polish-born mathematician and humanist and author of The Ascent of Man, who says, "It is important that students bring a certain ragamuffin, barefoot irreverence to their studies. They are not here to worship what is known, but to question it." My hope for those of us who teach in this building is that we cultivate that ragamuffin irreverence in each one of our students. Science without context, scientific discovery without a code of morals and ethics is an unwise science. My hope for the learning that takes place within these walls is that it will be shaped as much by philosophy and ethics as it will be by the scientific method. My hope is also that it will be shaped by a sense of social responsibility. In fact, the legacy of great thinkers in science teaches us this: science without a sense of social responsibility is empty science. Again, the words of Margaret Mead. I must admit that I personally measure success in terms of the contributions an individual makes to her or his fellow human beings. And again, the words of Carl Sagan, who says, "Our species needs and deserves a citizenry with minds wide awake and a basic understanding of how the world works." And the words of contemporary primatologist Jane Goodall, who reminds us that we have a choice to use the gift of our lives to make the world a better place. I hope that those who teach and learn here will remember Goodall's words and Sagan's and Mead's in their everyday activities. When you walk into this building, and even as you look at its exterior, you will notice that it is designed with sensitivity to aesthetics and with an appreciation of the importance of cross and interdisciplinarity in intellectual inquiry. This sensitivity and appreciation are also part of the legacy of great thinkers in science. The words of Albert Einstein, again, who describes mathematics, the queen of the sciences, with reference to poetry when he says, "Pure mathematics is, in its way, the poetry of logical ideas." My hope for those who live and learn in these halls is that they experience science and mathematics as poetry in motion. In this building, we hope to provide an environment in which questions, wonder, awe, joy, and adventure are the predominant emotions, because science without emotion is flat science. Hear the voices. On discovery, the words of Galileo, a 16th century astronomer and philosopher who worked and wrote in a time so long ago that woman was not commonly used as the subject in the language of intellectuals. We can forgive that, because on discovery, Galileo said, "You cannot teach a man anything. You can only help him discover it in himself." On wonder, the words of Neil Armstrong, American test pilot astronaut, and the first human being to walk on the moon. Mystery creates wonder, and wonder is the basis of man's desire to understand. On joy, Marie Solodowska-Curie, Polish-born student of chemistry and physics, and a pioneer in the field of radiation. All my life through, the new sights of nature made me rejoice like a child. And finally, on the wonders and the joy and the excitement of science, Dr. Jonas Salk, whose career in clinical medicine and virology research led to the discovery of the polio vaccine in the 1950s. It is always with excitement that I wake up in the morning wondering what my intuition will toss up to me like gifts from the sea. I work with it and rely on it. It is my partner. My hope for those who work and live and learn in this building is that they too will awake each morning with excitement, wondering with awe what their work will bring them that day. With the opening of this building, we rededicate ourselves to the wonder and joy of scientific inquiry and to the promise of a better world which our work brings. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Through this new Center of Scientific Learning, Buena Vista University will produce graduates who have both the knowledge and the compassion to improve the human condition. The light of science touches all of our students, whether they become healthcare practitioners, computer programmers, educators, attorneys, social workers, or entrepreneurs. Now, Mr. Tom Weeks, President of the Student Senate, will offer remarks on behalf of the student body. Tom?
President Moore, thank you. It's an honor to represent the students of Buena Vista University at this historic event. As President Moore, Dr. Schweller, and Dr. Johnson noted, this facility will benefit all of the students on campus as well as those who are pursuing careers in science. Some students who are not science majors do not have a lot of interest in taking core science, math classes, as they actually have a fear for science and math. As a major in mass communications, I am one of those students. I freely admit that completing my science and math requirements was a real struggle for me. I give a good deal of credit for surviving that experience to my very supportive and attentive professors. I particularly remember my first experience as a freshman taking math from Professor Grigsby. His door was always open to students, and I could go in, and he would even help me with my homework. I remember in one of his lectures, I was having trouble keeping up with the material that he was covering, so I raised my hand and asked him about his grandkids. He knew that I wasn't very good at math at all, so he played along. Anyway, Professor Grigsby stopped talking about math for a minute and had a great time talking about how his grandkids were doing. It was really cool how much he enjoyed talking about them. Then he would go back to his lecture and repeat the last thing he said, which gave me some time to write it down. Professor Grigsby and all the other professors who had me in your classes, I thank you for your patience and understanding. While the support of the faculty is immensely important to the students, the learning environment also has a lot to do with how we feel about our studies. I think that most students would agree that BVU has a great campus. This science building sets a new benchmark for the quality of facilities here and takes a great campus to the next level. The technology in this building and the open, inviting design creates a fantastic climate for learning experience. From the minute you enter the glass rotunda and walk down the Science Avenue filled with displays from students' projects, to working in the bright, open classrooms and laboratories, to sitting down to the informal gathering spaces where you meet with professors and other students to further discussions outside the classroom. This building makes you want to go to class. Whether we plan to become teachers, lawyers, businessmen and women, journalists, social workers, or in my case, the next David Letterman, I think that most BV students realize that the basic understanding of science is important to all things that we're doing in our lives after we graduate. A basic literacy in science is important to all of us because it better enables us to distinguish facts and interpretation in the mass media, whether they are stories about stem cell research, cloning, DNA, or the exploration of the solar system. As graduates of Buena Vista, an understanding of science will help us be better employees, employers, as well as better informed citizens in the nation's electorate. On behalf of the students of Buena Vista University, I want to express our sincere appreciation to the Siebens family for your presence here today, to this foundation established by Dr. Siebens, and to the Board of Trustees and all the generous alumni and friends of BVU. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Now, Mr. Clifford Ray, trusted advisor to the late Dr. Harold Walter Siebens and Dr. Siebens Foundations, has some remarks on behalf of the donor. Mr. Ray.
Thank you. I thought I would start with some good news and bad news. I'll give you the bad news first. When I read the script, they only have 35 minutes, and I will try and get through by then. And the good news, I'm not going to take nearly that long. It is very satisfying to be here today because Mr. Siebens and I spoke about this building, not in this exact design, 20 years ago. It was just after the Siebens Forum was opened. And the discussion was, when was it going to be the time when the existing science building needed to be replaced? We knew it wouldn't need to be replaced. And he said he hoped that Estelle would be alive when we did it. She was, and we're grateful for that. The task that this new building, as described by previous speakers, is daunting for everyone that's in this organization after we leave, because it's clear acknowledgement of having the finest facility that can possibly teach the most to any child and do it effectively. We look forward from testing the worth of the grant as to how many Nobel laureates come out of science through the coming years. And I don't know, I'm not going to start next year because there's some time lag in that. But in any event, the enthusiasm with which it's being approached is very gratifying to the foundations, because what Dr. Siebens had an interest, as I mentioned, when we opened the library some, 6 years or so ago, he had extreme faith in the youth of Iowa. And given them the opportunity to learn, the wherewithal to learn, the infrastructure to learn, there wasn't anybody in the world that could overachieve what the Iowan could achieve given the opportunity. So it's in that sense that gratification is here. And the task that we leave the institution with, but another part of this institution which always strikes me when I'm here is I don't believe the attitude and the thought process in terms of ethics and morals that permeates the entire facility, that we will have that many looking forward, Enron-type executives graduating from this institution that are under indictment. We spend emphasis today, of course, is on science, but Dr. Siebens would not rest well if I did not assure any student here that's studying business that they're not second-class citizens. The scientist discovers the element or the item, and then the engineer comes in. And one expression was his sidekick, the entrepreneur. Until you have all three operating, you don't have any deliverable outcome. And I like to believe that the entrepreneur, through foundation grant giving, has been of some help to the scientist. So you need the entrepreneur to have the funds to do the other job. And so that's my justification for today. I don't know what more I can say, frankly, in terms of this event. You look at the building, I invite you, as other people have, to see how vibrant it is. There will be no lack of enthusiasm for the people that guide you through it and describe it, and neither should they have a lack of enthusiasm. I'm very optimistic for the future for the children graduating, whether from Iowa or otherwise, and I'm sure the foundations will be able to look back and consider this to have been a very sound investment. And I want to specifically add my appreciation for the many donors that came along to make this possible. I noticed that they've been in the facility working for 3 weeks. When I was here with Mrs. Siebens and Mary Jane, her daughter, for the dedication, for the groundbreaking, one of the terms and conditions was that they had to meet the challenge match before we would participate in the dedication. They had to delay the meeting a little while because they had to nail 1 or 2 down in the afternoon, but they succeeded in that. And so we went forward. And now they're done 3 weeks, and I understood, and to a philanthropist, to have a project come in under budget. That is a great sound, and I've now got to work for other colleges and see what I can do with that extra, you know? I thank people for attending, because for us to have an opportunity for children, youth, to learn and then strengthen themselves in the sciences that give rise to so many things in medicine and other avenues. We just appreciate everybody showing up and joining us in the celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ray. The Siebens Science Challenge has truly been a monumental opportunity for all of us today. It brought out the best in everyone who believes in the future of Buena Vista University and the importance of private higher education, from our faculty and staff to our alumni, our trustees, and our many friends and supporters. I again want to thank Dr. Siebens' family and everyone for joining us on this historic occasion. And a personal thanks to our student musicians under the direction of Robin Anders, who provided some very enjoyable accompaniment this afternoon. Before I conclude this afternoon's program, I invite you to tour the new Estelle Siebens Science Center if you have not already done so, and be sure to see the science demonstrations by our students. Please join us for refreshments and conversation, and enjoy the rest of your day on campus. Let me leave you with this thought, paraphrased from Albert Einstein, on the greater responsibility of scientists in the world society. Concern for humankind and its fate must always form the chief interest of all technical endeavors. Never forget this in the midst of your diagrams and equations. And now, by the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees of Buena Vista University, I hereby officially dedicate this new building as the Estelle Siebens Science Center.
Mom.